Okay, the
Yes,
recording has started. This is the meeting of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force for August 4th, 2021. The time is 4:13 p.m. In accordance with Governor Newsom's executive order declaring a state of emergency regarding COVID-19 outbreak and Mayor London Breed's proclamation declaring local emergency issued on February 25th, 2020, including guidance from gatherings issued by the San Francisco Department of Public Health Officer, aggressive directives were issued to reduce the spread of COVID-19. On March 17, 2020, the Board of Supervisors authorized their boards and committees to meetings to convene remotely via Microsoft Teams and will allow remote public comment via teleconference. Members of the public may participate by phone or may submit their comment by email to cheryl.leger@sfgov.org. All comments received will be made a part of the official record. Sunshine Ordinance Task Force agendas and their associated documents are available at sfbos.org/sunshine. As the COVID-19 disease progresses, please visit the task force website regularly to be updated on the current situation as it affects the legislative process. Meeting decorum. Any member of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force may call for decorum due to disorderly conduct of the meeting. Persons who engage in threatening and/or menacing behavior may be asked to leave. Call to order, roll call, and agenda changes. On the call of the roll, please apologize. I am kind of going off the top of my head.
I'll do it, Victor.
Okay, Cheryl will take over from here.
All right. Member Schmidt?
Present.
Member Schmidt present. Member LaHood?
Present.
Member LaHood present. Member Habmanabhan?
She'll be arriving at 6 o'clock.
Okay. Member Wong?
Present.
Member Wong present. Member Stein?
Present.
Member Stein present. Vice Chair Yankee?
Present.
Vice Chair Yankee present. Member Highland? Not present. Member Neighbors?
Present.
Member Neighbors present. Member Forsley?
She'll be arriving at 4:30.
Okay. Chair Wolf?
Present.
Chair Wolf present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Any changes or adjustments to the agenda, members? Hearing none. Okay, let's move on. Let's call the second item.
Item number 2, approval of the minutes from the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force July 7, 2021 meeting.
Okay, we have one through communication. There may be others, but the one that I picked up from Mr. Hooper on his complaint number 19062. He requested that there be a correction in the action that after the words and nature of records to insert from SF Parks Alliance that may be available to them, and then the rest of the sentence. So the sentence should read, yeah, that's my place.
Shall I read it, Chair Wolf?
Hold on. So the sentence should read, moved by Chair Wolf, second by member, oh no, sorry. Yeah, moved by Chair Wolf, second by member LaHood to find that the Department of Public Works violated Administrative Code Sunshine Ordinance Section 67.21C by failing to provide the requested records in a complete and or timely manner, and orders that the Department of Public Works to assist Mr. Hooper in identifying the existence form and nature of the records from SF Parks Alliance that may be available to them that the requester is requesting within 14 days and refers the matter to the Compliance and Amendments Committee for monitoring. Okay, any other changes or adjustments to the minutes, members?
This is Member Stein. I have a couple changes.
Go ahead.
So item number 7, which is on P8, and under file number 20009, it says, let's see, where, under action, moved by Member Stein, seconded by Member Wong, to find those particular violations, just to add some specificity that I actually moved in particular that information was improperly redacted with no explanation or redaction keys, and that the names of requesters were improperly withheld. That was part of the motion. I went back and listened to it. So if that could be reflected in the minutes.
Okay, you wouldn't happen to have the time that you listened to?
Yes, it was around 2 hours and 59 minutes, or 2 hours, 59 minutes, 56 seconds, somewhere around there in the tape. Or in the recording is where that was. So but I took it out word for word and kind of summarized it. I can email it for you or you can look for it, but basically what I added was that information was improperly redacted with no explanation or redaction keys, and that the names of requesters were improperly withheld.
All
Okay.
right, I'll listen to the tape.
Okay, and then under item 10, sorry, I'm going for the page there. Item 10, didn't write down the page number, but basically, I think the last sentence of the second paragraph, second
Page
paragraph, P12. I just would like it to reflect that I said that I felt that the article showed a lack of understanding of the rationale behind freedom of information law.
Which file number is this?
10.
It's item 10.
Or sorry, is this item 10 on the minutes?
Got it.
I didn't say that Mr. Fraser has no understanding. I was referring to the article, and I just said the article to me showed a lack of understanding of the rationale behind freedom of information law. So I just want to make that clear because it wasn't an attack on, I wasn't trying to say, I don't know about Mr. Fraser personally or not. I just felt that that article showed a lack of understanding of the rationale behind it, not of the law itself. And that's also on the tape, but I didn't write down where it was on the tape, but I did take notes on it.
The article showed a lack of understanding
Of the rationale behind freedom of information law. And those are all the corrections I have.
Thank you. Members, anything else? No. Okay.
Yeah, this is Vice Chair Yankee.
Yes, go ahead.
I believe Anonymous had written with some suggested corrections to our administrator. 2 of them are already covered, so I'm not going to go over those, but the third one I don't think was discussed, and it is the motion for item number 6. This is the motion that shows up on P7 right before item number 7. And the suggestion is that it's moved by Member Schmidt, seconded by Member Neighbors, to find that the Sheriff's Department violated Administrative Code Sunshine Ordinance Section 6724 for citing deliberative process privilege, citing Government Code 6255, and citing CPRA draft exemptions, 6725 by failing to respond to an immediate disclosure request in a complete and/or timely manner, and 6727 by citing written justifications that did not apply.
Is that your edit?
That would be that's the suggested edit from Anonymous. I know he had submitted that to Cheryl.
Okay.
I just wanted to read into the record.
And are you?
Yeah, I would suggest that as well.
You're suggesting that edit. Okay.
All right. What is the date of the email?
It is July 29th at 5:16 p.m. So you can reference that, Cheryl, if you want the, to look at what I just read.
Okay. All right. I'm going to open it up for public comment. We'll get, let's see if there are any more corrections, and then I'll ask for a motion.
I'd like to make a public comment.
Yes, we will get to you. Hold on. Let's get it. We're just getting the clock set up, and then I'll call for public comment. Cheryl, let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, I will. Just a second.
Okay, then I hand it off to you.
Do we have public commenters?
I would like to make a comment.
Okay.
I would
Do
like
we have
to make
other
a comment. Yes, please.
So that's
Yes,
3
please.
public commenters?
May I go first?
Just a moment. I just want to make sure. Do we have 2 or 3 public commenters? I hear 1. I heard 3 people, but I want to be sure.
There's no way that I can say how many people there are. I believe there was somebody ahead of me, and then I requested.
Okay. All right. Mr. First Speaker, are you ready?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
I'm Patrick Manette Shaw. I don't have any objections to the amendments to the minutes, but it would be useful if the task force would include in today's minutes mention on whether or not members of the public can now resume submitting IDRs that the mayor had curtailed in her COVID orders. It's not clear to me on whether city departments can keep asserting, as they have, that the IDR provisions have been suspended more or less indefinitely. Thank you.
Do we have a second speaker?
Mr. Chairman, this is John Hooper.
Okay,
And this
Mr.
is
Hooper,
Peter
are you ready
Warfield.
to
I think
speak?
I was next.
Okay.
That's fine.
It might help if you would ask the unseen folks to give some identification rather than just indicate I'm interested or yes, please, and so on.
I just want to notify members of the public that we are trying not to predict or predetermine who you are. So however you choose to identify yourself, that would be preferable. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, there's no obligation to provide a name.
Okay, do we have speaker number 2?
Yes, let me know when to begin, and I'm assuming that's me, Peter Warfield.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Warfield.
This is Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. We can be reached at libraryusers2004@yahoo.com and by mail at P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. And I say this because I think it's important. There's a whole Brown Act that talks about people having to have a place in a certain area within the jurisdiction to speak, and that meetings are supposed to be held in person and so on. And there are good reasons for that as far as democratic process goes. I'd certainly second what the previous speaker said about the status of limitations on sunshine from the governor or the mayor. I don't know that that's specifically on the minutes, but it certainly is something that I've asked the task force to keep abreast of and let people know where things stand at any particular moment. I've also asked the task force to do something about it, like issue a statement or advise the supervisors. With respect to the July 7th meeting, it's still an absence of full attribution whenever we speak. It has shrunk down to Peter Warfield, except on the first mention, which does have the address and the name, but the name is wrong on one of the items. It's Library Users Association, not Library Users. And many of the contents are most unfortunate. I believe that on item 9, and I also don't have any problem with what's been submitted, I would urge you to please state in the correction motion exactly who asked for what and that you agree with it, and in particular the details of what's being changed. For people who may have read it incorrectly previously, it's helpful to know that this part or that part was changed or corrected so that they'll know, okay, most of it I got, but this part was corrected. I didn't say that just that on item 9, I believe I said that I didn't support and agreed with Anonymous on the first motion to find no violation, and then expressed to say that I expressed happiness with the motion, I think is kind of silly. I supported the motion to find a problem. Item 10 is a wrong reference. I specifically said the task force has the power with 67.30. Item 11, Library Users Association. The description is not a good summary. And I also said on item 12 that there was chaotic or there was too much administrative material in the materials in the packet. Thank you.
Do we have another speaker?
Yes, my name is John Hooper. Would you like me to start?
You may begin, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the task force. I just wanted to make a point of clarification concerning item 19062 from the minutes of July 7th. I got a burst of static when Chairman Wolf was correcting those minutes, and I just wanted to make sure that the correction that Chair Wolf suggested is consistent with your original intent that that DPW was ordered to go to the San Francisco Parks Alliance and request any documents they have pertinent to the documents I have been seeking. Anonymous wrote you an email dated July 29th, and the language that was suggested in Anonymous's email is identical to the language that I would suggest to correct and clarify those minutes. So that might be an easier way for you to see what we both had in mind there. Thank you.
I'm just going to interject here for a second. Mr. Hooper, I brought that up at the beginning here, and I'll just repeat what the addition that I suggested. It would be that orders that Department of Public Works to assist Mr. Hooper in identifying the existence, form, and nature of the records, and here's the edit, from SF Parks Alliance that may be available to them. And then goes on the rest of the sentence that the requester is requesting within 14 days, and so on.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate your clarification. If the task force is satisfied that the directive to the Department of Public Works is clear that they are required to go to SF Parks Alliance to request the documents that are missing, then I'm satisfied. As long as you feel that the clarification is made, then I'm satisfied that it has been made.
Very good. Thank you. And I'd like to recognize Member Forsley arriving at 4:33 p.m. Please continue with public comment on this. Thank you.
Yes, anonymous number 3.
Anonymous number 3, are you ready?
I am.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So thank you. Member Stein's correction is actually more accurate than the one I suggested on page 2009. It is actually more full. Member Yankee's correction is also correct as written or read from my email about case 19143. However, I would agree with Mr. Hooper. If you look at the exact words on the tape, the words on the tape used by Chair Wolf in that motion are what I'm going to read to you here. Quote, and order DPW to request such records from Parks Alliance that may be available to them. And I believe that's also the same exact wording that Mr. Hooper sent in an email to the task force. That is the literal words from the tape, and I believe it's much stronger even than what may have been suggested. So I'd suggest considering using the literal words from the tape, at least that I could find, and I've given you a citation to the videotape in my email. That's it. Thank you very much.
Do we have further commenters? Any more public comment?
Last call for public comment. Okay, hearing none, public comment is closed. Is there anything else to add or adjust, members? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion. Is there a motion? Members, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
This is Member Stein. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
And that's with the edits?
With the edits.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Member Wong. I will second the motion.
Moved by Member Stein, second by Member Wong to approve the minutes with the edits as stated. And please call the roll.
Member Stein?
What do I say?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye or nay?
Yeah, aye.
Member Wong?
Aye.
Member Wong, aye. Member Padmanabhan? Padmanabhan, she's still absent?
Yes.
Okay. Member Neighbors?
Aye.
Member Neighbors, aye. Member Forsley?
Aye.
Member Forsley, aye. Member Schmidt?
Aye.
Member Schmidt, aye. Member Yankee?
Aye.
Member Yankee, aye. Member LaHood?
Aye.
Member LaHood, aye. Member Highland, absent. Chair Wolf?
Aye.
Chair Wolf, aye. Moved by Member Stein, second by Member Wong to approve the July 7, 2021 minutes with amendments.
Thank you. Please call next item.
Item number 3, file number 19103, complaint filed by Anonymous against Mayor London Breed, Hank Heckel, and the Office of the Mayor for violating Administrative Code Section 6721, 25, and 26 by failing to respond to an immediate disclosure request in a timely and/or complete manner. Shall I read the preamble, Chair Wolf?
Yes, please.
On December 2nd, 2020, the task force moved to find that the mayor's office violated Administrative Code Section 6726 for keeping withholding to a minimum, 6727 for no justification of withholding, and to refer the matter to the Compliance and Amendments Committee for monitoring. On February 23rd, 2021, the Compliance and Amendments Committee referred the matter back to the task force with a recommendation to the task force that due to non-compliance with the order of determination, the committee recommends that the mayor's individual calendar entries and attendees should be shared, and for the task force to decide whether date, time, location, and recurrence being withheld are excessive.
Okay, thank you. CAC Chair LaHood, do you want to make a presentation?
Sure. So this was sent to us for compliance, and we, in this instance, we think that, as we know, the ordinance should be applied broadly, but withholding should be cut to a minimum. And we believe that this is a situation where the security exemption is being applied too broadly, and that there are calendar instances where it would be appropriate to provide, perhaps provide date, time, location, and recurrence, especially for those meetings that are taking place at City Hall, where one would assume, or where one would expect security to be very high. So we wanted to bring this back to the task force to determine what to do at this point, because we do believe that information is being withheld that should not be withheld, with the reasoning being security, but we think it's being applied too broadly in this instance.
Thank you.
Members, committee members, is there anything else to add to this?
No, that summarizes it.
Okay. Other members, do you have any questions or discussion about this?
Chair, it may be worth asking the parties to comment briefly, because even between the time that we made our order of determination and the committee started meeting, there was some adjustment. Perhaps it would be worthwhile to hear from them whether there's been any additional shifting or if we're at the same place we were when we last met.
Okay, so I'll give 3 minutes for each party to make a statement, and then we'll have more information. Is that your suggestion?
That is my suggestion.
Okay, great. So let's start with the respondent. Is there a representative? Is the mayor or a representative from the mayor's office here? Please unmute by pressing the *6. Is there a representative from the mayor's office?
Yes, hello. Hi, sorry. This is Hank Heckel, Compliance Officer for Mayor Breed, here to respond on behalf of the Office of the Mayor.
Great. Okay. And Ms. Leger, when you're ready with the clock, I'm allowing 3 minutes for each party.
And the respondent is going first?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Heckel, are you ready?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, members of the task force. I'm here to respond to Anonymous's request in the file 19103 regarding the mayor's future calendars. I appreciate Member LaHood's summary of the sort of procedural posture of where this matter is right now. I think it's more or less accurate. Just to kind of recap briefly, the history of this is that I think back in 2019, Anonymous made requests for calendar entries for the mayor that were at that time future meetings, so entries for meetings that hadn't taken place yet. And after consulting with the city attorney, we withheld those meeting entries due to security considerations attendant to those meetings. And we did have an initial complaint and hearing before the task force, and the task force decided that that withholding was too broad and that we should go back and engage in more minimal withholding. And that was the order of determination that was issued this past December. And so we did do that. We advised Anonymous that we would provide future calendar entries with information, including the meeting subject, attendees, details like that. And we would do them in blocks of a full week, but we would continue to withhold the location, date, time, and recurrence information, because it's still our position, consistent with the advice of the city attorney, and this is, I believe, still the city attorney's position, that because there is a security detail assigned by SFPD to every meeting that the mayor undertakes, and so we believe that the security procedures of the law enforcement organization exemption of 6245F of the Public Records Act applies. We've also cited the Times Mirror versus Superior Court case, which is 53 Cal 3rd 1325, and also Cal Evidence Code 1040, which is the official information privilege. And just to explain, we want to strike the right balance here of providing certain information, consistent with the order of determination. So we are giving out future meetings. We've done so. You can see in the file that we've done so on page 309 of the file, email from me to Anonymous in February of this year. We provided future calendar information from April 5th to the 9th, 2021, which was at that time future information. But we did cite these security concerns. We did have that compliance hearing where this was addressed. We understand
Your time is up, sir.
Anyway, our position has not changed due to the unique requirements for security for the mayor and the need to avoid disruption of future meetings and the need to avoid revealing her sort of the details of her activity patterns and so on. And so happy to take any questions about our position.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was in trouble getting unmuted. Is Anonymous present?
Yes, this Anonymous is also Anonymous number 3.
Okay, Anonymous number 3. Please wait for Mr. J in the clock.
Are you ready, sir?
I am.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So the updated presentation is on T33, which is also PDF page 19. I don't disagree with what they are doing. They are, in fact, doing exactly what Mr. Heckel said. I would agree with the compliance committee that that's an overuse of the exemption. I think we have to always go by the words of the exemption and not what we feel like should be sensitive. That's not how the law works. 6254F protects, it's not 6245, it's 6254F, protects security procedures of a law enforcement agency or a local police agency, sorry. Evidence Code 1040 has a balancing test with regards to need for confidentiality in the interest of justice. I'm not disputing the balancing test since we're past COVID here, and that the same thing is in Times Mirror versus Superior Court. It's a balancing test based on, quote, the physical security interests of the governor in that case, or in this case, the mayor. All I'm asking you to do is say that for the meetings that are phone calls, virtual, such as on Zoom, and or in City Hall, and maybe you'll agree with me on the first two and not the third, it's your choice. knowing the dates and times and locations, which often the location is just in Zoom, it's not a physical location, right? And recurrences, like, oh, she has this telephone call weekly, cannot possibly endanger her physical security interests, which is fine. We're allowed to consider this balancing test now. It's post-COVID, and I don't think the balancing test, quote, clearly outweighs. That's the rule you have to use. Clearly outweighs. There is no physical security interest in telling us that she has a weekly phone call or that she has a monthly Zoom. I would also say it's not clearly outweighing when she's in City Hall. Maybe some of you will agree with that, maybe some of you won't. But I think you should definitely agree there's no physical security threat to knowing that the mayor has a telephone call or a virtual Zoom call. So I'd urge you to consider each of those three issues and have them disclose dates, times, locations, and recurrences for phone calls, virtual meetings, and or City Hall meetings. Thank you very much.
Okay, members. And for the members of Compliance and Amendments Committee, if you have anything further you'd like to add based upon the testimony, please go ahead.
This is Member Stein. Can we ask a question of Mr.
Sure.
Hinkle, for instance? I would just like to know from Mr. Hinkle how a virtual meeting or a phone call, first of all, might be a security concern from the mayor's perspective, as well as any meetings that take place in City Hall. But if you can address those two separately.
Sure. Thank you, Member. So with respect to virtual meetings and phone call meetings, we respectfully disagree with Anonymous's argument. And we would, understanding his point about the virtual nature and her not, his reference to physical security, we still think that revealing that information could pose a risk and disrupt the security procedures of the police department in the sense that, the mayor needs to be physically located to take those calls. It could be in City Hall, it could be at her home, it could be at another location. But I think, during COVID, certainly it's been reasonable to kind of narrow the possible range of places where the mayor could be. And we do recognize that the subjects of the meetings and the details can be revealed. But if we reveal too much of the logistics of like the where and the when, even if it's on the phone, because she could be taking the phone in City Hall, for example, taking the call or the virtual meeting, or at her home, there could be disruption. There could be people gathered outside her home. I mean, of course, people have a right to protest under the First Amendment. People go to the mayor's home and have protested, but we just think that revealing too much of that, raises the risk that there'll be some disruption that kind of borders for harassment and makes it difficult for the SFPD to provide security, which they do at the mayor's home, as well as City Hall, as well as any other location in which the mayor is taking a call for a virtual meeting. I mean, I would point out that Speaker Pelosi's house was vandalized in a pretty unpleasant manner in the last couple of years. And so because of those concerns, we will release the details of the meetings in terms of what is the meeting about, who's it going to be, and sort of a rough window of time. Like, it'll happen in this week. But we believe we're striking the right balance and still withholding the particulars of the location and the date and the time, even for virtual meetings. And it's sort of the same issue for City Hall, is that just because the mayor frequently takes meetings in City Hall and there's already security at City Hall, we don't want to make the jobs for the PD security any harder by having to adjust the detail. The level of security and the procedures attendant to the security vary with the meeting in question. There could be a meeting with foreign dignitaries for a consular visit, or sort of a larger meeting, so they have to adjust the security protocols accordingly. And we believe that it's not in the public interest in striking the balance here weighs against revealing all of those just logistical particulars while still giving the substantive information on who the mayor's meeting with and what they're going to discuss. And of course, after the fact, all information is available in the mayor's Prop G calendar, which we provide upon request for past meetings. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you.
Member Schmidt.
Yeah, hi. For Mr. Heckel, just kind of following up on that last point. So could you just give a little more insight on, say somebody knows ahead of time that there's a phone call scheduled between the mayor and someone else. I don't get it. How does that, if somebody knows that she's going to be on the phone, but they don't know where she's going to be, how does that put her in some kind of security risk?
Thanks, Member Schmidt. So, I mean, respectfully, it's not like the mayor is just going to be roaming around anywhere on the phone, right? And I think this is particularly true of video conferences, right? I mean, if she's on a Teams call or Zoom call or whatever other platform that we've all gotten used to using in the last year or so, there's still a good possibility she's going to be in, one of 2 or 3 locations, right? So the call might still take place at City Hall, very likely, or it could be at home, or, there's frankly a very limited number of other places where it could take place. So we just think providing that extra level of detail to say, oh, it's going to be at this place, there's going to be a phone call at City Hall, the security risk is no different than if the mayor was having a physical meeting with attendees that were physically present at City Hall. She's still in that location conducting city business. There's still security procedures that just go along with the mayor being present at City Hall. And if for meetings, for phone calls or virtual meetings that take place in her home, I mean, I think obviously everyone agree the security considerations are different, and it's not just her physical security; it's the procedures and the burden and the pressures on the PD to plan these events without extra scrutiny of the logistics, which just makes their job harder.
Okay, it seems like there's 2 different concepts here. One is that somebody knows ahead of time that she's going to be on a call or on a Zoom meeting. And the other is what you just described, which is that they're on the call or the Zoom meeting and that they're told where she's going to take that call, where she's going to take that meeting. Now, I don't think that what the argument here is that for those types of meetings, you would even need to disclose where the mayor is going to be physically when they're on a call, but just to say there's going to be a call, there's going to be a Zoom meeting. So I want to, do you see that there's a difference between those if you don't include the location where the mayor's going to be at that time?
Yeah, no, I do understand the distinction. So the point I was trying to make was that if the mayor is taking a call for official business or is on a video conference for official business, there's not that many places that those meetings are likely to occur, right? So one could guess, if the meeting were at home or the meeting were at City Hall, you could sort of make a pretty good guess, right? But I think revealing the locations just as a matter of practice, whether it be by phone or by a physical location, gives additional information. And there's no public interest. I frankly don't understand what the public interest is in knowing that the mayor is going to be on a Zoom call versus a Teams call versus a phone call for a meeting when we've already told the requester what the meeting's about, who the meeting's with, and so on. And I'll just read a quote from the Times Mirror case at 53 Cal 1346 that kind of goes to the modus operandi and the activity patterns of the official. This was referring to the governor but said, that case said that revealing the particulars of date, time, and location, doing so, it would be, quote, plausible to believe that an individual intent on doing harm could use such information to discern activity patterns and identify areas of particular vulnerability. So we think it's the totality of giving out the location and the date and time, as a rule, that's going to give a lot of information about the mayor's activity patterns and her MO that just has an unnecessary burden on the security procedures, and we don't think there's a valid public interest that outweighs that under the balance under this weighing of interests.
Are you concerned about her physical security as a person, or you mentioned something about Pelosi's house? Are you trying to do this to protect her property also?
Well, I mean, I think it's both. It's her physical person. It's the physical security of the PD and other people involved in the meeting. It's the procedures of the PD. I mean, as to property, I think someone left a severed bloody pig's head at Speaker Pelosi's house. I think that was the incident you might have seen. So, whether that's just a property violation, no big deal. I mean, I'll leave it to you to, to consider that.
Okay, thank you. No more.
Okay. Members, anything else?
Am I allowed to respond to anything or no?
Yeah, not at this moment. I just want to hear from task force members if there is a motion, if there's any further action or concerns that you want to raise at this point on this. If there's no action.
Well, this is Member Stein.
Okay.
I actually would not mind hearing Anonymous's response to one question, which is, can he just describe what public interest function it might serve to know the location of, or to know whether there's a virtual call happening or not, or a virtual meeting happening. Why might that information be relevant to the public?
Okay, great. So that's a question to you, complainant.
Sure. Sure. So I want to be clear what you're asking about. You're asking about the phone calls and virtual meetings. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the thing that has the most interest is the day of a particular event. And that is the thing that's missing when they give out weekly agenda items. Because when I have days, I can actually corroborate the information they're giving with other agencies to make sure that they're telling the truth. And I've talked about this many times in other cases. When two different agencies respond, some of the agencies do not give complete information, and some of the agencies sometimes lie. And if I just know even the day that a phone call or a virtual meeting is occurring, I can corroborate that. And I believe the rule is it's not that I have to show a public interest to clearly outweigh the public interest in the security interest. It's the other way around. Even if you for some reason said that's worth 0, you have to find that the security interest of the mayor clearly outweighs, in this the physical security interest clearly outweighs, even if you consider that to be 0 interest. So I would suggest that that's the way it's written in law, and that's why that information, the date of these phone calls and phone calls and virtual meetings, allows me to corroborate that information with other agencies.
But then that's not an issue of knowing a location. That's an issue of knowing a date when a meeting or a phone call or a virtual conference took place.
Well, it's what Member Schmidt said. The location when it's a phone call or a virtual call is phone or Zoom. It's not the physical place she's taking the phone call. It's just like the fact that it's on Zoom, if that makes sense.
No, I understand that, but I guess I'm trying to understand from your point of view, without me trying to guess what the public interest might be.
Yes.
What specific public interest it serves to know the location, because that now I understand the point you're making about dates, but
Yep.
just in terms of location, what the public
So
interest is.
the only public interest I would say is actually exactly what Mr. Heckel said, that there is a protest interest, and that if it's an event that people are allowed to protest. I just want to be clear, when he said he's done this before, he gives graphic examples about things that have happened. People already know where the mayor lives, so that would be the only interest. But I would agree that is a different interest than, say, the date and recurrence of a virtual meeting.
So if people want to protest and they want to hope, in the hopes that the mayor might see them, being able to guess that she might be at City Hall a certain day, and therefore that's the reason to protest there, is a public interest.
I do believe, and I said this in the beginning, I do believe the protesting is a public interest that is one of the reasons why I wanted this information in the first place. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I've got member Wong, and then I thought I saw member LaHood. Did you have your hand up? Member LaHood, and then member Schmidt. Go ahead, member Wong.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out section 2069.29-5 of the ordinance regarding calendars of certain officials. It says specifically that, the mayor must keep a daily calendar wherein is recorded the time and place of each meeting or event attended by that official, and that information is to be provided to any requester subsequent or 3 business days subsequent to the calendar entry date. And so the ordinance very clearly states that this information should be made available. There's no specific statement about security. It's just there, and it should be made available. I mean, when I think about when I visit City Hall and the security measures I have to go through to even enter the building, it's just, to me, it seems a little silly to be so worried about the security there, especially if you are providing these calendar events to a requester, then you actually do have prior information that folks will have that information as well. So there is a certain amount of time for, preparation, if that's something that's necessary, if you needed extra security. So just some thoughts on my part.
Member Wong, can you repeat that citation again?
Sure.
Section number.
Yeah, section 67.29-5.
Thank you.
And that is section A.
Thank you.
May I respond, Chair Wolf?
No.
To anonymous?
No. Oh, to anonymous. You want to rebut something that anonymous said?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not inclined to have a big back and forth like this. It's really up to members to ask questions to come to a conclusion. Let's get through that, and then if it doesn't come to light, then I'll allow you to speak on it.
Great. Can I clarify a factual point, or?
Mr. Heckel, I appreciate that. I would respect that you allow me to run the meeting. And I will, if it's doesn't come up in further conversation with the members, then I'll give you time to respond to that. We'll go to member LaHood. Thank you.
Thank you. I had 2 points, one of which has slipped my mind, but the one thing I think we do need to keep in mind, genuine security interests. Of course, I think we all have respect for that, but I want to make sure that we are not confusing security for convenience. Yes, it might be easier not to let people know specifically when meetings are happening, but I think it is in the public interest. Oh, and my other point was sequence of events does matter. It does matter who the mayor is communicating with in what order, and then we see what policy decisions are being made. And I think it very much is in the public's interest to know the order in which the mayor is meeting with either other government officials or members of the public or those who seek to influence her decisions on policy matters.
Okay, Member Schmidt.
Yes, Anonymous, I want to go back to the state provision 6254F. First noting that it pertains to records of security procedures. And it doesn't protect, security itself, but also, would you confirm for me that 6254F, even where it does apply, there's no real relevance of the public having to show why they're interested in information? Is there any sort of balancing test that you see in that provision?
This is a question to Anonymous, correct?
Yes, to Anonymous.
I agree with you that 6254F has no balancing provision, and I agree with you that, and it was the original statement I made in this complaint, that calendar entries are not in and of themselves records of security procedures of a local police agency. However, there is another point about balancing. I can get there if you want me to, but I won't unless you ask me.
No, thanks. I just wanted to clarify, make sure I'm not missing something in terms of where that balancing test would be and why the public needs to show an interest in any way here. Thank you. That's all.
Correct. It doesn't.
Member Yankee? Vice Chair Yankee?
Yeah. I guess I just wanted to clarify that we're talking, I think, about the future calendars here, right? Because Member Wong brought up 6729-5A, and I think that's the talking about the date and time and place, and I think that's referring to the Prop G calendars, which is a backwards looking, after the event takes place, that must be disclosed. And so I don't think that's in dispute. I think that we're talking about future calendars for events that have yet to take place, which I'm not sure that 6729-5 actually applies to.
Okay, noted. Okay, I'm put myself in here. Okay, Mr. Heckel, I'll give you, go ahead and make your response.
Appreciate that. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, just a couple of things. I was going to make the point that Member Yankee just made, so I appreciate that. I think the reference to 67.29-5 that's referring to the Prop G calendar, which is, backwards looking. We keep it up to date every 3 days, and there's no question we give that out upon request. So we give all the details out for those past entries. So the issue here is future calendar entries. And I think Anonymous said that there was and also just to address what Member Schmidt said, so in addition to the Gov Code 6254F section, we've cited Evidence Code 1040, which is known as the official information privilege sometimes, and that refers to official information is information acquired in confidence by a public employee in the course of his or her duty, and not open or officially disclosed to the public prior to the time the claim of privilege is made. And there is a balancing test there, which is that there's a privilege to refuse to disclose that information where disclosure of the information is against the public interest because there is a necessity for preserving the confidentiality of the information that outweighs the necessity for disclosure in the interest of justice. So we don't believe that Anonymous has articulated a showing that there's a necessity for disclosure in the interest of justice of revealing things like the specific location of the meeting, or the dates and times within a week block of time, and also to address what he said about how he needs that to, I think he said, corroborate information. So I mean, the future, bear in mind that these future events may not even take place, right? Because these are like things that the mayor's scheduling team puts on a calendar as like a placeholder, like the plan is tentatively to meet with XYZ persons on, 2 weeks hence, right? But there's nothing to corroborate because that meeting may not take place at all. I mean, the question of corroboration of whether a meeting took place arises in Prop G context, and those are available for all comers if they want to verify who the mayor did in fact meet with. That's available 3 days after the fact. Thanks.
Okay, so I have a few things to add here. Okay, so one is, members, please be cognizant of the respondents' citations for withholding. If they are, as to whether they are part and parcel. We get a lot of background noise. Can somebody please, if somebody's outside, please. In fact, can everyone please mute *6, please, who's on the phone? *6. I'm going to wait until everybody mutes. Nobody's muting. *6, please mute.
Chair Wolf, I will go ahead and mute all telephone callers at this time.
Thank you. I think we need to be cognizant of the respondent citations that they're bringing forward today, if they were part and parcel of their response to the complainant at the time of the request, and during their testimony citing citations for withholding prior to our making the order of determination. Introduction of anything new today is not applicable because that wasn't part of the record in the way that we made our decisions then. And we are kind of in a celluloid state where we are hearing complaints that have happened in a particular period of time some time ago. And at the same time, for this particular type of hearing and review of an order of determination or compliance of an order of determination, it has to be based upon the facts and evidence that was presented during the actual case. If any of the parties have concerns about the order of determination that the task force had made, they're free to, and they have new information that might change the outcome. We have a reconsideration process for that. So I just want us to be cognizant of that. The second one is, I have concerns about any public official that is required to maintain a Prop G calendar with regards to citing location. And this is why. Many meetings that public officials have, including the mayor, may be passive meeting bodies. Passive meeting bodies are described in the San Francisco Administration Code 67.3, which is our Sunshine Ordinance. And I'll read that into the record. Passive meeting body shall mean, 1, advisory committees created by the initiative of a member of a policy body, the mayor or department head. 2, any group that needs to discuss with or advise the mayor or any department head on fiscal, economic, or policy issues. 3, social, recreational, or ceremonial occasions sponsored or organized by or for a policy body to which a majority of the body has been invited. Okay. And then 4 is actually a prohibition or an exclusion. A passive meeting body shall not include a committee that consists solely of employees of the city and county of San Francisco created by initiative of a member of a policy body, the mayor or department head. So there are various meetings that members of the public may be allowed to attend, to observe under the rules of passing meeting bodies. And in order for the public to know where or how to attend those meetings, a location would have to be revealed. So I'm concerned about an overreach of excluding the location of future meetings because of how this is held in 67.3. So I think if the mayor could identify which meetings are passive meeting bodies, the locations of those meetings should be known. Now, if there are going to be passive meeting bodies, then it can be planned in ahead of enough time for security to be set up, like it would be for a press conference, which is outside, where it could be, the mayor could be more vulnerable in person, out on the open street. Here, it can be in a far more controlled environment, in a hearing room or a special meeting room in City Hall, where those kinds of meetings happen all the time, with the mayor being present and the public knowing that the mayor will be present at those meetings. So for that, that's I just wanted to notate that as a reason for a location to be noted on a future calendar. Okay, anything else? What shall we do with this? We're running a little over time on this item. Is there a motion or any further action? Or are we leaving things as they are? I mean, we have a recommendation from the Compliance and Amendments Committee based upon the consideration that the withholding is excessive. I think we've had some good, substantial discussion here. Is there any conclusion or result? Don't be shy.
I see Member Schmidt speaking, but we can't hear him.
I'm sorry. Thank you. My mute button got me again. I want to just say that I feel like this would be more difficult for me if Anonymous had not sort of clarified that he wants to limit what the order would be to 2 or maybe 3 categories: telephone calls, in City Hall, Zoom meetings. And so, I mean, for me, that seems clear that he should get his order with regard to those things. If we had to figure out other areas where we're going into, okay, how far do security procedures really extend, it might get a little more tricky. But if that's all he wants, I think that's a pretty clean order.
Are you making a motion?
I just wanted to just point out that that's what he's actually asking for, as opposed to something more extensive at this time.
I'll ask again. Doesn't need to be from you, Member Schmidt. I'll ask again, is there a motion? Or is there any further action that we should take on this? Otherwise, I'm going to close the discussion. I'll bring up public comment, and then we'll move on.
This is Member Stein. I just had one other comment, which is in my notes, I have that what he was asking for is that a second order of determination specifying that the mayor has to release individual entries rather than summaries, subject body attachment content for future meetings, information about attendees, invitees, or organizers for future meetings, and dates, times, location, and recurrences of future phone calls, virtual meetings, or meetings in city buildings. But that was the whole request. So I just wanted to raise that point.
Is there a motion? Are we taking any further action on this?
What would be appropriate action at this point? I think there seems to be some consensus that we think the mayor and the mayor's office are not releasing enough information. We already have an order of determination. Would a further step be a second order of determination, or do we escalate our first order of determination?
Well, it would be, we're getting a response from the respondent saying that they feel that the information they're withholding is appropriate. We're hearing from the petitioner, the complainant, that it still is not appropriate. The Compliance and Amendments Committee brought forward a recommendation with concerns that the date, time, and location and recurrence being withheld are excessive. So based upon the testimony and all of your questions, is there a motion? I mean, I hear what everybody's saying, but the question is if you feel that there's not enough information to make a motion, fine. Then I'll move the meeting forward. If there's a motion, then let's hear it. Okay, hearing none. I'm going to open. Go ahead, Member LaHood. Did you?
I'll make a motion that we forward our order of determination to the Board of Supervisors and indicate that there's non-compliance by the mayor's office.
Okay. So you just want to, so the motion is just to, I'll take it. Is there a second on that? Or I comment on it?
This is Member Wong. I will second that motion. I don't know if Member LaHood will be open to adding a bit more detail on the specific pieces that we're looking for.
Go ahead.
Maybe mentioning a section violation as well.
I think that's a good idea.
Chair Wolf, this is Victor Young.
Yep.
Yeah, an order of determination on this matter, I believe, was already issued. Are you suggesting that we update that order?
If the task force feels that the reasons that the respondent gives is not sufficient, and that the information that the order of determination was requiring them of, it can make a subsequent motion to be more specific as to exactly if it's needed to be more specific. Otherwise it can just continue to maintain that order and compel the respondent to comply with the order of determination. If they continue not to do that, then the task force has other means to deal with that at that point.
I would cite specifically 6726, which is failing to keep withholding to a minimum, because they are releasing information. It's not that they're saying we won't give you anything, but I think the task force believes they should be releasing more information that they are on an ongoing basis. Do others agree with me on that?
Well,
this is Member Wong. I agree with that.
But what was the? Let's see, what was that already included in the?
It's already in our it's in our order of determination.
Right. So why, the question is why repeat that? I mean,
you asked for a reason. I'm trying to determine what can we do. We've already issued an order of determination. This was sent to compliance. We've heard from both parties. We're hearing from the respondent that they do not intend to give any more information than they're currently giving. So there's continued violation of failing to keep withholding to a minimum.
Okay.
And we're seeking backing from, another part of city government, because there's not much more than we can do at this point, other than say, well, you need to keep coming back to compliance and amendments and continue to tell us, give us updates where there will be no changes, because there's no way for us to compel any additional activity. Unless you think there is.
Well, I'm not sure that sending this to the Board of Supervisors, it's just would be a notification. I don't know what the Board of Supervisors doesn't necessarily have enforcement power. The legislative branch doesn't have enforcement power over the executive branch in that way for this purpose. If you feel, I'm a little more inclined to think that if a correction needs to be made, that we request that the and recognizing Member Padmanabhan on 5:30, that we request the respondent to comply with the by action to comply with the specifics of what we want them to do, and if they continue to not do that, then we have other avenues that we can refer this to. I don't think the Board of Supervisors is not going to help to get any further action. Member Schmidt, and then Vice Chair Yankee.
Yeah, I'm inclined to think favorably on the pending motion, but since it's still a pending motion and it hasn't been seconded, what I guess I'd like to see something where we make it very clear that the items that are being sought, which is telephone, Zoom, Microsoft meetings, and in City Hall calendar information, that they do not fall within the state law exceptions, the state law exemptions that are cited, which is one is for security procedures, and the other 1040 is for confidential information. I just don't see that those provisions apply to those. And I think that because we already have an order, what we're doing is saying, look, you're not complying with the order with regard to these specific things.
Okay, and it has been seconded by Member Wong.
Would you rather that we modify this and say send it to ethics, which I'm trying to figure out what would be, what do you think will be more fruitful in this instance, or do you think we just reiterate and request that they that they follow our order of determination in a more specific way?
Well, I think the testimony that we've heard is that first of all, that the petitioner complainant has suggested that at bare minimum, at least provide, or at best, I should say, provide the virtual meetings, because they're not necessarily revealing any location of any one person. And with the ability of all these systems to blur a black background or provide a alternative background, it makes anonymity. It makes kind of anonymity of the location, or hiding the location even more obscure. So I think that's important. I'm not necessarily convinced of the respondents' response to that. There could, if it was physical location, I could say, okay, there on a case-by-case basis, there may be some value in that. But I also am concerned about the passive meeting body point, that members of the public can attend a passive meeting body, and without, how are they supposed to know about it? It's not necessarily agendized meeting per se, but the agenda for that meeting shows up on a calendar. Vice Chair Yankee.
Yeah. I guess I was wondering the same thing you brought up earlier, and I think Member Schmidt talked to also, is that I was looking at our original order of determination from last time, and there's, I guess, a little bit of a lack of specificity in it. We just said that, that we found a violation for failing to keep withholding to a minimum and failing to provide justification of withholding. So I'm wondering if perhaps we make a more specified order of determination where we lay out specifically that we think, some of the items that we've discussed today, such as the virtual meetings and so forth and so on, that we consider as part of what's necessary to comply. I'm not sure that sending it to the Board of Supervisors at this stage, you would even give the board, if they were even in a position to do something, enough specificity to find what our issues are with this. So I think at a minimum, we need to talk about those items that have been brought up already. I don't know at that point if we want to couple that with a referral or if we want to just make the motion that, we want to include those items that we consider including those items as part of complying with the order and see if the mayor's office will do so. I'm not sure about that.
Well, why don't I rescind my motion rather than trying to modify it, and someone else can make a new motion that would point to a more specific way that we are seeking compliance with our original order of determination.
Your prerogative.
I'll do that. I don't think there was support for it.
Okay. So we'll consider the item to be rescinded. I would suggest more of an affirmation, something to the effect of that we affirm that the date, time, and location of virtual meetings and meetings in City Hall are deemed to be public and should not be withheld on this Prop G calendar.
Is that a motion?
That is my suggestion. If somebody wants to make that into a motion, go ahead.
Can we include telephone calls that are scheduled?
However you want to elaborate on it, go ahead and then make the motion.
Okay.
But that's my suggestion.
Okay, this is Vice Chair Yankee, I guess I'll go for that. I will move to affirm our original order determination in this matter and include that the task force feels that including all information regarding telephone, virtual, or City Hall meetings be included in the items turned over to the respondent to ensure compliance with the order.
And specifically date and time.
Specifically date and time,
yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Vice Chair Yankee, second by Member Schmidt. I would just add, I would just ask the maker of the motion, instead of saying that the task force feels, I would make it a little more concrete and say deems.
Yeah, the task force determines.
Determines. Okay, good. Okay.
Excuse me, Member Yankee, I didn't get the whole of that motion. Would you mind repeating it, please?
Yeah, I'll do my best here. I would say the task force affirms its original order of determination.
You started out with motion to affirm original order.
Ms. Leger, I would appreciate if we don't do that, because he stated it in a very specific way, and if he didn't write it down, it's on the record in the recording. I would appreciate if we can just listen to the playback of the recording, and we'll have the correct language.
I'm doing this to make sure that I do get the correct language.
Okay. Vice Chair Yankee, do you want to take a crack at this?
I'll try under what you just said. So I would say that the task force affirms the order of determination, the initial order of determination in this matter, and deems that the date and time of virtual, telephone, and city hall meetings is required for compliance with the original order.
Location?
Location, if it's in city hall.
And participants.
And participants, yes. I'm assuming though that I think the participants were already being turned over. Is that correct, Member Lloyd? Or were they?
I think generally yes, but not always.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll include it in the motion then, just to be safe.
Okay.
Still seconded.
Okay, great. So the way I have it is Sunshine Ordinance Task Force affirms the original order of termination on this matter and deems the date, time, location, and participants in the, just being more just descriptive in the Prop G calendars.
No, this would be future calendars.
But no, the forward-looking calendars.
Forward-looking, okay. In the future calendars of virtual meetings, telephone, or virtual, telephone, and city hall meetings be noted, stated,
disclosed,
be disclosed. Okay. Okay. Mr. Leger, did you get that?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay. Public comment on the motion. Oh,
I would like to.
Wait a second before we do that. Member Wong, go ahead.
I just wanted to make a note for anyone who's listening and also for Ms. Leger that the motion was made at about an hour and 34 minutes into the recording.
Thank you.
Okay, let's open up for public comment.
I would like to make public comment. I'm Patrick.
Do we have other public commenters?
We do.
I'm sorry?
I would like to make a public comment.
Okay. Did we have somebody else say they want to make a public comment?
All right, so when we do this, as we did before, we're requesting if you're asking to be put on this public comment list, please state how you want to be identified so that Mr. Leger can keep you in order. Thank you.
I'm Patrick, and I want to make a comment.
Okay.
Yeah, and my name is Mimi Klosner.
Okay.
David Pilpel.
Public commenter? Mr. Pilpel, okay, 3.
Sullivan.
Mr. Sullivan, so that's 4.
Okay, why don't you get rolling on that, and then we can ask for more after.
Okay. Mr. Monette Shaw, would you like to begin?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, sir.
This is Patrick Monette Shaw. Mayor Breed and her staff's non-compliance with an OD is not surprising. First, when she was still a supervisor representing District 5, the task force referred Breed to the DA's office for having violated approximately 8 Sunshine Ordinance violations. Also, when she was a supervisor, she initially opposed legislation requiring each city supervisor to release their Prop G calendars. Yesterday, news broke the Ethics Commission has reached a stipulation with Breed for a fine of almost $23,000 for 4 ethics violations. I agree with anonymous number 3 and his position. Mr. Heckel's claim of a need to prevent disturbances or disruptions in future meetings is overly broad and an overreach. I urge the task force to add an amendment to this motion to not only strengthen the finding of the initial order of determination, but also to refer this not to the Board of Supervisors, but to the enforcement agencies in the ordinance, meaning it should be referred for non-compliance with an order of determination to both the district attorney and the Ethics Commission. Please amend this motion. Thank you.
Do we have another public commenter?
Yes. Do you want me to speak now?
Ms. Klausner,
Yes.
are you ready?
Yes. Yes.
Go ahead.
First of all, okay. Yeah. First of all, I want to say I find it extremely disorienting not to be able to see the members of the task force, and I don't understand why there can't be some sort of video conferencing that people can at least view. The other thing is I am commenting on this just because I'm waiting for my own agenda item, which comes after the general public comment. If there is an enforcement mechanism, as the previous speaker has said, either through the DA or the Ethics Commission, I don't know why you're not forwarding on the violation of your order to those bodies. I mean, it seems pretty clear that Mayor Breed is not going to change what they're doing, even if it comes with more specificity. And I just say, let any enforcement mechanisms, take its go through the process with that. Why are we pussyfooting around here? So I guess that's it for me now. Thank you. What, did you hear what I just said?
Yes, we heard everything.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have another speaker?
I'll go. Sullivan.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought you took
Someone was before me.
I thought you took a list.
I think Mr. Pilpel was next.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Are you, just a second. Are you ready, sir?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Pilpel.
Great. Thanks. David Pilpel, former member of this task force. I've been listening since 5 because I had some general public comment to offer whenever you get there. I'm not familiar with all the specifics of this particular case, but I picked up a lot of it in the discussion in the last 45 minutes. Much of this seems like old territory to me. If the task force has already found a violation, then you have some choices to address alleged non-compliance. I believe Mr. Monette Shaw spoke to that a few moments ago. More broadly, Section 67.29-5 has specific content and timing requirements for certain retrospective official calendars. Whether that is the only calendar requirement to maintain and disclose, or if those requirements only apply to those specific individuals, is open to discussion. Future calendars, as in calendars of events that have not yet occurred, may still be public records subject to disclosure and possible redaction where appropriate. I believe that specific reasons for non-disclosure or redaction based on the actual facts of an event or whatever other articulable basis should be cited instead of general reasons like security or whatever. I think you've got to be very narrow and in terms of reasons for non-disclosure or redaction, not just citing 1040 or security or those sorts of things. I believe that passive meeting bodies are covered separately under 67.3. I would point out that this task force spent a lot of time when I served on it dealing with then District Attorney George Gascon, who had terrible calendars and in some cases no public calendar for days and weeks. And we spent a lot of time with his staff to encourage, cajole, require, et cetera, get them to have a public calendar that had content in it. So to that end, and here's where I want to close. Thank you. Here's where I want to close. I think this task force, regardless of what you do on this particular motion, may want to create some specific guidance to departments, department heads, elected officials, those subject to calendar requirements, with examples of good calendar entries and good ways to describe what has been done and perhaps what you would like to see on calendars prospectively and not just retrospectively. Those would be my thoughts unless you have questions. Thank you for listening.
Do we have another speaker?
Yes, please. Can you hear me? This is Peter Warfield, Library Users Association.
Okay, you ready, sir?
Which sir are you referring to? Because I've been saying this repeatedly, and it turned out that part of the time I was not. I was muted. So who are you talking to?
Well, you can go next, sir, if that's what you'd like to do.
Who is you? Who is you? Is it Mr. Sullivan? Is it Mr. Pilpel? Who is it?
Okay, please do not argue with the staff. If you have an issue, please address it to the chair.
I don't know who is going next. I'm asking for a name or some identifier, which I have given repeatedly, I thought. And I don't even know if you're hearing me now, or are referring to somebody else.
Okay, sir, we hear you. Ms. Leger, who next do you have on your list?
I thought it was Mr. Sullivan.
Okay, so please call them as we had started with 4. I think Mr. Sullivan was the last person of the first 4. And then I requested that you then ask for a next grouping. So let's keep track of who speaks up and is on the
Peter
list.
Warfield on the list.
Okay.
We will put you on the list, Mr. Warfield. You'll be right after Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yep.
You ready, sir?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, 6721E says, upon the determination that the record is public, the Sunshine Task Force shall immediately order the custodian of the public record to comply with the person's request. If the custodian refuses or fails to comply with any such order within 5 days, the task force shall, which means will, notify the district attorney or the attorney general, who may take whatever measure she or he deems necessary to ensure compliance with the provision of this ordinance. So I think the task force needs to follow the Sunshine Ordinance and notify either the district attorney or attorney general. If you don't get compliance within 5 days, the fact that if they don't do anything, that doesn't matter. They may or may not take whatever measures, but you are required to do that. And then if you keep doing it, they may get a lot of these notifications and go, hey, what's going on here? And they may actually do something. I agree with what's been said about taking the provisions narrowly as to being redacted. I don't think security to the property, as far as like whether a pig head ends up on a property or not, matters. It's a moot point because the properties always exist time and regardless of where the meeting is taking place. As far as security, where the meeting is, in like a Zoom call or something like that, I would suspect it would be either City Hall or the mayor's home. And so those should be always under security. And as far as meetings open to the public, again, they'll have enough time to provide security. It's up to the task of security people to provide that security for the mayor, and they should do it regardless of whether time is given out or not. So I just don't see the whole location thing as a major point. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Mr. Warfield,
Yes.
are you ready, sir?
Let me know when to start. I'm ready.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. This is Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. We can be reached at libraryusers2004@yahoo.com and by mail at P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544. Pretty much in general, I think the public has made excellent comments, and I would summarize that by saying follow the law. The law specifies where specifically you must or should send any violation notification. And even if you've had bad experiences with people specifically in the past, and I know that there have been bad, meaning non-responsive at best, experiences, nonetheless, times change, personnel change, and so on. So I think that the supervisors are not specifically named as a place to send something. There's nothing wrong with it. I think you have every right to send it anywhere you want, including the newspapers, including anywhere else that you think would be useful. But you shouldn't ignore the specifics of the law in making your proposal, your motion. I'm very concerned about the broadness of security and what could be viewed as a kind of paranoia. Certainly nobody wants anything bad to happen in any way to the mayor, but I think that location is important, and it's a reason for rules about location and where meetings can happen in public meetings and so on. If, for example, the mayor were meeting in Trump Tower or at the campaign donors' headquarters, that might be a very relevant thing to know. And I think, well, I know for a fact that the Library Commission in the past actually had its closed meeting in another location other than the library where they were supposedly meeting. That was very interesting as well. So I think the location is important, as well as all the things that the motion says, which we certainly would support as something that would improve openness. The other thing that I would be concerned with is
30 seconds.
I think location should be not limited to just virtual meetings or just city hall meetings. People know where the mayor's office is, where the Board of Supervisors meets. People know where the president lives and where Congress is. Are we supposed to make a secret of where they do their business because it might be a security issue? I think if we have a civil society, we can't think that way. That's taking it too far. So I think you should actually expand the motion, but certainly support it for as far as it goes. Thanks very much.
Any other public comment on the motion? Okay, hearing none, public comment is closed. I have an amendment. And the amendment shall read, and it's extensive, so I'm going to read it, including the current motion, and then I'll tell you where I'm making amendments. Sunshine Ordinance Task Force affirms the original order of determination in this matter and deems, and here's an amendment, and orders, end of that amendment, that the date, time, location, and participants in the future calendars, virtual, telephone, and city hall meetings be disclosed immediately. And here's the beginning of my amendment, starting with immediately, and provide confirmation of their actions or inactions within 5 days of this meeting, period. If continued non-compliance with the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force order of determination of this file, the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force administrator shall notify the chair, who will order the matter to be referred to the district attorney per Administrative Code Section 6721E and the Ethics Commission for a show cause hearing as per Ethics Commission Enforcement Regulations, Section 10B, period. End of amendment. And that's a motion to amend.
This is Vice Chair Yankee. I'll second that.
Okay, members, any discussion or comment on the amendment?
Sounds good.
Okay, then I'm going to open it up again for public comment just on the amendment.
Peter Warfield. Did anybody hear my name?
Yes, we heard
Yes, I did, Mr. Warfield. Just a moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you ready, Mr. Warfield?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead,
Just
sir.
let me know when to begin.
Go ahead.
This is Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. Library Users 2004@yahoo.com and PO Box 170544, San Francisco, California 94117-0544. Thank you to the chair for strengthening this motion with the changes that he has made. I did not understand the last bit, the reference to the section. I understood section referring potentially to the DA under section 67.21E, and I'm familiar with an ethics referral, but what I heard was section N as in Nancy, B as in boy. So I don't understand what that is. I hope that you can clarify that to refer to where the Ethics Commission is, in fact, as I recall, in the law for referral of violations, basically, for enforcement. Thanks very much.
I'll just respond to that. It's section 10, subsection B. Okay, next speaker. Last call for public comment on the motion to amend. Okay, public comment is closed. Are we ready for a vote? Okay, great. Please call the roll.
Wait, I was trying to make a public comment and I was still on mute. Can I please speak?
Yes, I'll be just this one. Go ahead.
I'm Patrick Manetshaw. I commend.
Just a moment, sir. Mr. Manetshaw, just a moment.
All right.
Are you ready, sir?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I thought I had unmuted myself. Thank you, Chair Wolf. I want to repeat, I commend Chair Wolf for his leadership on the task force. I support his amendment that is now being debated, but I would strongly urge him to reconsider and strike the provision that the mayor's office is going to get another 5-day bite at the apple. They don't deserve another 5-day period. They have proven over and over and over that they are not going to comply with anonymous number 3's initial complaint. I think you should strike from the motion that you're going to give them 5 days and instead clarify in the motion that you are, in fact, going to refer this matter to ethics and the DA today. Thank you.
Okay, public comment is closed. Members are ready for a vote. Okay, hearing no objection, please call the roll. And this is only on the amendment. Once this it's determined what the outcome of the amendment is, then we will vote on the whole motion that includes the amendment.
Okay. Chair Wolf?
Aye.
Chair Wolf, aye. Member Yankee?
Aye.
Member Yankee, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Member Neighbors?
Aye.
Member Neighbors, aye. Member Stein?
Aye.
Member Stein, aye. Member Forsley?
Aye.
Member Forsley, aye. Member Schmidt?
Aye.
Member Schmidt, aye. Member Wong?
Aye.
Member Wong, aye. Member LaHood?
Aye.
Member LaHood, aye. Member Highland, absent. The motion passes. Let me just see if I can. I typed this as you were speaking it, Bruce. Moved by Chair Wolf, second by Member Yankee, that the Sunshine Task Force affirms the original order of determination in this matter and orders that the date, time, location, and participants in future calendars.
No, you missed something. It's the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force affirms the original order of determination in this matter and deems and orders that the date, time, location, and participants, and then so on. The original motion that was made by Member Vice Chair Yankee and Member Schmidt, that's now what we are voting on, which has the new amendment attached to it.
So,
are you giving a report? Are you just announcing what the amendment of the vote we just did? Is that what you were trying to do?
yeah, that's what I was doing.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
You missed a couple of words in there. That's why then I'll just correct you.
No, that's fine. I'm glad you said it. Moved by Chair Wolf, second by Member Yankee, that the Sunshine Task Force affirms the original order determination in this matter and deems and orders that the date, time, location, and participants in the future calendars of virtual telephone and city hall meetings be disclosed immediately and provide confirmation of their actions or inactions within 5 days of this meeting. If continued noncompliance with the task force order determination, the task force administrator shall notify the chair and will notify the district attorney's office and the ethics commission and request a show cause hearing.
Okay, so you're still missing some words here. In the amendment, after the word disclosed, I'm going to read it back. It will say disclosed immediately and provides confirmation of their actions or inactions within 5 days of this meeting, period. If continued non-compliance with the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force order of determination of this file, the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force Administrator shall notify the chair, who will order the matter to be referred to the district attorney per Administrative Code Section 67.21E and the Ethics Commission for a show cause hearing as per Ethics Commission Enforcement Regulations Section 10(10)B. Let me know when you've got that.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're back to the original motion, which includes the amendment. If we're ready for a vote, then please call the roll. I hear no objections. And we've had some substantive public comment on this.
That would be the motion moved by Member Yankee, seconded by Member Schmidt.
Correct.
All right.
With amendments.
Yeah, please, no discussion from anyone other than the chair right now. Thank you.
Member Yankee?
Aye.
Member Yankee, aye. Member Schmidt?
Aye.
Member Schmidt, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Member Neighbors?
Aye.
Member Neighbors, aye. Member Stein?
Aye.
Member Stein, aye. Member Forsley?
Aye.
Member Forsley, aye. Member Wong?
Aye.
Member Wong, aye. Member LaHood?
Aye.
Member LaHood, aye. Member Highland, absent. Chair Wolf?
Aye.
Chair Wolf, aye. So shall I read the motion made by Member Yankee?
You read the motion that includes the amendment. Yes.
So I'm basically saying what I just said.
Correct.
All right, I'll read it again. Moved by Chair Wolf, second by Member Yankee.
No, moved by Vice Chair Yankee, second by Member Schmidt.
All right. Moved by Vice Chair Yankee, second by Member Schmidt, to affirm the SOTF original order of determination in this matter, and deems that the date and time.
No, please, Ms. Leger, just read the from the motion that we just made, that I repeated into the record. It is the original motion that includes the amendments that we just voted on.
that the SOTF, the task force, affirms the original order of determination in this matter and deems and orders that the date, time, location, and participants in the future calendars of virtual telephone and city hall meetings be disclosed immediately and provide confirmation of their actions or inaction within 5 days of this meeting. If continued non-compliance with the task force order of determination of this file, the task force administrator shall notify the chair, who will order the matter to be referred to the Ethics Commission for a show cause hearing and notify the district attorney.
Yeah, the matter to be referred to the district attorney per Administrative Code 6721E and the Ethics Commission for a show cause hearing as per Ethics Commission Enforcement Regulations, Section 1010B, period. Okay, thank you. Let's move to public comment. And after public comment, we're going to take a 10-minute break.
Can a party ask a question or no about what just happened?
No, we're done.
Okay.
If you have a question, you can address it to me directly through our office.
I would like to make a public comment on public comment.
Okay, hold on.
And I'm Patrick.
Let Ms. Leger announce it first. When you're ready, please call the next item.
Yes, I will. Just a moment. Mr. Manette Shaw, are you ready?
Please.
I am. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I need to put on my glasses with one hand. Sorry. Now I'm ready.
Yeah. Hold on a moment, please. Ms. Leger, please call the next item number 4, into the record.
Item number 4, public comment. Members of the public may address the Sunshine Task Force on matters that are within the task force jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda.
Proceed.
Do we have one public comment? Do we have other public commenters?
Yes, please. Peter Warfield, Library Users Association.
Okay, you're speaker number 2. Do we have other
Who is
public
speaker
commenters?
number 2? Did you hear my name? Please repeat it.
Mr. Warfield, I heard your name.
Thank
you are
you.
speaker number 2.
Thank you.
Dr. Sue
Anonymous number 3.
We have 3
I'll
speakers
go
now,
after Dr.
including.
Sullivan?
Hello, my name is Teresa Foglio Ramirez. I would like to speak under public comment.
Just a moment, please. Okay. So we have Mr. Manette Shaw, Mr. Warfield, Anonymous 3, Mr. Sullivan, and Ms. Annette Warfield. Is that correct? Hello?
Mr. Tedeschi?
Mr. Tedeschi? Okay.
Thank you.
I believe there was a person who was identified as a doctor. Can you please repeat your name?
Sumchai.
Dr. Sumchai, okay. Are you wishing to make public comment, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I believe there's also Ms. Leo Ramirez in there as well.
I didn't hear that.
I believe Ms.
Yes,
Leo Ramirez was also there.
Thank you. Yes, Teresa Foglio Ramirez.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Manette Shaw, are you ready to speak?
Yes. Please add David Pilpel. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Manette Shaw, are you ready to speak?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Let me recap briefly previous complaint. I filed complaint number 20 010 on January 17th, 2020 against the city attorney, alleging the CAO had converted an IDR I placed on December 26, 2019 to a standards records request and said they would provide the requested records in 10 days on January 6, 2020. On January 6, 2020, the CAO invoked a second 14-day extension citing SIPRA Section 6253C. SOTF's Compliance and Amendments Committee held a hearing 10 months later on November 24, 2020, forwarding my January 17th complaint to the full task force, which held a hearing on February 3rd, 2021, a year after I had submitted the complaint. The task force ruled the CAO had violated 6721 and 6725B. 4 months later, SOTF issued an order of determination on June 15th, 2021 that didn't mention the second 14-day extension caused CAO's timeliness violation. Guess what? The CAO just repeated the same stunt. I placed a new IDR on July 2nd, 2021. 10 days later, the CAO said on July 12th he would respond by July 26th, and then magically on July 26th, the CAO then invoked a second 2-week extension. On the first complaint, it took fully 17 months between the time it was filed and when the order of determination was issued. On the second complaint that just happened last month, it took the CAO 10 days.
30 seconds.
It took the CAO 10 days to even bother replying. When it did, it invoked a 14-day extension. At that point, it was 24 days. Now they're saying, I'll get it 2 weeks later, at some point in August. That amounts to a 38-day delay in responding. You have to rein in the city attorney's office. They're not complying with your orders. Thank you.
Next speaker, please. Mr. Warfield?
Yes, let me know when to begin.
Go ahead, sir.
Peter Warfield here, Executive Director, Library Users Association. Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com and P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. And I say those things because I think they're an important mitigation of the absence of an actual hearing and, unfortunately, the virtual hearing that we're having here. First of all, I'd like to say I have a number of points. First of all, we won, if you like, a case on June 2nd against the Library Commission for not providing us with an opportunity to make public comment back in July. We filed our complaint the next day after the meeting, had a hearing on June 2nd, where you upheld on a 9-to-1 vote. There was no clarity, unfortunately, from the library as to what went wrong. They referred vaguely to technical errors, technical issues, and we had said there was no change in the library's behavior whatsoever, with one exception just before the meeting where they take a pause if they're hearing that there's nobody on the list for making public comment. But they didn't make any promises or discuss in any way what they would change. There was no order and no referral. I think this desperately needs to be referred because, as anonymous number 3 said, this is an important decision. It has to do with how all the city agencies conduct their meetings and will set a standard for future meetings. Well, the library in June and in July had absolutely no changes to their numerous problematic ways in which they deny effective public comment to the public. No change at all. And I would like to say that I think this desperately needs to be referred to one or more of the committees on the task force. Also, it's been 9 weeks since June 2nd, and we have not seen an order of determination. There's later on this agenda, there's a chair's report, and I think it's very problematic. It's not clear what the actions are. It's certainly not an action on the chair's report, and it groups together multiple complex issues in a single item, which I think is very wrong. In general, I think there's a real crisis of open government in this city.
30 seconds.
There's widespread flouting of the law, and your backlog is increasing. And I don't think you need to blame the public who is filing complaints because there are actual alleged and, in most cases, discovered violations. You need to look at Section 6730 and beyond for what you can do on a larger scale regarding basically an outbreak and an infection of a widespread nature. Thank you.
Before you get to the next speaker, Mrs. Chair Wolf, I just want to remind everyone that public comment for this particular item are for matters that are within the task force's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda. Thank you.
Anonymous 3, I think you were next.
I don't think I am. I believe there's 2 people ahead of me and then me. But I'm happy to go if you would like me to.
We'll get to everyone, I promise. I promise.
All right. Please let me know if you want me to begin. I am.
You ready, sir?
I am. Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
So I've come here and denounced various city officials, the city attorney, the mayor, the chief of police, all sorts. Today we're going to talk about the PUC, Rec and Park, and the district attorney, and not what's on today's agenda. So the PUC has finally, after months, provided certain records from their contractor, AECom Parsons joint venture, of that contractor's certain. There's a somebody. I can't speak. There's 2 of me. Someone has their microphone.
Please stop. Victor, can you please mute everyone and then anonymous 3.
Shall I reset anonymous 3's time?
Yes, please reset this time.
Yes, give me 1 moment. I will mute the other callers. Please note, I do not know anybody's phone number, so if I do mute Anonymous's number, you just unmute yourself.
Are we all muted now?
Not yet.
This is anonymous number 3. If someone tells me when to begin, I will begin again.
Okay, I think it's all fixed now. Ms. Leger, please let the speaker know when they're ready to begin.
Anonymous 3, I have restarted your time.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much. This is anonymous number 3. There's still something going on, but anyway, I've come here and denounced the city attorney, the mayor, the chief of police, and many other officials. Today, I'm going to tell you about PUC, Park and Rec, and the district attorney, and it's not related to the DA case today. So the PUC has finally provided certain records from their contractor, AECom Parsons joint venture, as they're required to do but not all of the records. And these are records of meeting minutes and checks and payments for something called community benefits. And this has been quite in the news. They need to turn over all these records. There's no law that allows the city attorney to help AECOM Parsons narrow this information down, and they shouldn't be doing it. The Park and Rec General Manager Phil Ginsburg, completely refuses to respond to any of my requests about his communications with Parks Alliance. We know he reads my requests because of email read receipts. He's willfully violating the law, and this is about the email threatening Supervisor Chan. And finally, the district attorney yesterday rejected in whole a request from a journalist, Gabriel Gushler, and they used the balancing test to do it. And the reason that they can do it for his texts and signals is because you might remember the mayor has allowed balancing tests, but this task force last June unanimously approved a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors doing its kind of high-level duty to terminate those portions of the COVID fifth emergency supplement. You should re-raise that as an issue, and you need to terminate that. The balancing test is being used, for example, by the district attorney. It is also used to hide information about homeless shelters. The balancing test has absolutely no place in San Francisco. The voters outlawed it, and we should get back to doing what the voters said and allowing full public access to information without this random subjective gray area they can cite. Thank you very much.
Pew! Pew, pew!
May we have no disruptions of the meeting, please? Everybody please mute unless you're called upon to speak. Thank you.
I believe our next speaker was Ms. Ramirez. Is that correct? Ms. Ramirez, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. Wow, this would really be on WebEx or streams. It's so difficult. And it's difficult for, I'm sure, you and the public. But yes, my name is Teresa Foglio Ramirez, Public Sector Business Agent for Labor's Local 261, representing 5,000 members, 1,000 of which work for the city and county of San Francisco. Our membership has firsthand knowledge and has suffered due to the lack of transparency. And without transparency, it's difficult to have accountability. The work this task force does is very important, and we support increased funding and resources, as well as the expansion of authority and enforcement. So please keep up the good work. We really appreciate you, and this is a very important job that you're doing, and we're counting on you. Thank you so much.
I believe Mr. Pilpel was next.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Okay.
Great. Okay, David Pilpel, former member of the task force, just for identification. I had three brief topics to discuss, and then I'm going to go and wish you all well. I am concerned about the task force's case backlog. I took a moment to look at the administrator's report. It looks like you've got 140 some odd cases. That's the highest I ever remember reading. If it was higher in the last 12 months, that's possible, but it's certainly an extraordinary number. I would urge you more strongly than I have in the past, in as strong terms as I can think of, to find ways, and by ways I mean not just a single way, but multiple ways to reduce, minimize, and manage that backlog. That suggests to me that anyone who files a new complaint today may not be heard for months and months unless they can pull some strings or argue that they've got some hardship or whatever. But in any event, it's just an unbelievable caseload, and whatever you can do, whether it's stipulations, consent calendar, more committee meetings, grouping, clustering, limiting the number that people can file, aging things out, whatever you can do to manage that, I most strongly encourage you to do so. That just really, I saw that and almost freaked out with that. Similarly, I understand that you sought additional resources from the Board of Supervisors to address your both the backlog and other issues that you're trying to deal with, and that didn't go anywhere. So I'm not sure what I could do or what others can do to see that you get additional resources. But clearly there's a huge imbalance between the workload that you have now and the resources allocated. Perhaps you'll discuss that later, and perhaps I can get some feedback on that after the meeting from someone. And finally, I wanted to suggest, if you have not already done so, that you memorialize in a document and make public what has been learned under COVID, both in terms of public meetings and public records. So those things that have been changed and are good, as in public comment through virtual meetings where that can be done efficiently and effectively, might continue in the future, and other ways to get public records, and encouraging departments to post more information on a very timely basis on their website, et cetera. And where things have not gone well, that those practices end ASAP or with the end of the pandemic, et cetera.
Your time is up, sir.
Can I have 10 seconds to finish my sentence? I didn't have a 30-second warning.
Go ahead, finish your thought.
Great, thanks. And my thought is, if you have already taken action to support various legislation or other things, that you somehow memorialize that in a document that you can post on your website so everyone knows where the task force stands on things going forward post-COVID. Those are my thoughts. Thank you for listening.
Do we have other public comments?
Yes, Dr. Ahimsa Sumchai had requested a public comment. I believe I was third. I wanted to make a brief comment about consistencies in the wording in the meeting agenda that can convey bias or prejudice. And I'd like you to look at the wording for each of the 4 files that are on today's agenda. In file number 19103, it's a complaint that states
I'm
for
sorry,
violating.
Dr. Sumchai, I am going. I'm sorry, and some may consider this to be a violation of the ordinance, but the general public comment for this item is for items that are within our jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda.
Yes,
So
well, that's what I'm just using these as an example. The issue I'm raising is that the wording in the 4 files is different. It uses violating versus alleged violations. And what I'm asking is that you be consistent. If the complaint states that it is a violation, state that rather than in a select file use the term alleged violation versus a violation, because that does convey bias. And I also think that you should be consistent in how you identify elected officials. For example, Mayor London Breed and the Office of the Mayor are identified, but the District Attorney's Office in Chesa Boudin are identified in a manner that suggests that you've stripped the District Attorney of his title. So those are some points that I want to make in general about the agenda and being consistent and not injecting prejudice or bias in subtle wordings.
Okay, before we hear the next speaker, I just want to apologize for for that interruption. We really are trying to make sure that we're not, we keep to how the agenda is organized. I will just respond to that quickly by saying any new cases, any new files that are coming to the task force from a committee after being found that there's jurisdiction, that the records are public or within our jurisdiction, the verbiage that we use is allegedly violating. If the item has already been heard by the task force and an order of determination has already been issued, then a violation exists. And so we remove the word allegedly because it is not alleged anymore. The task force has already determined that it is a violation at that point. So I hope that clarifies the speaker's concerns. Thank you. Next speaker, please. Ms. Leger, can you please call the next speaker?
Do we have other public commenters? Anybody who wants to make public comment but has not had a chance to speak?
Sullivan.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes, this is Dentist Odessa. Hello, Dentist Odessa.
I heard you, sir. Just a moment. Mr. Sullivan is next. Mr. Sullivan, are you ready?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
At the last full task force meeting, there was a discussion around a custodian of record responsibility, section 67.21c. The custodian of public records shall assist a requester in identifying the existence, form, and nature of any records or information maintained by, available to, or in the custody of the custodian. A narrow interpretation of that provision would be only to the records that are within the department. A broader interpretation with available is if they have access to the records. How the task force members vote often falls on how narrowly or broadly you read a provision. California Constitution, the courts, and the Sunshine Ordinance instruct you to interpret provisions broadly and, importantly, only narrowly if the law expresses specifically to the contrary. Constitution Article 1, Section 3B2. A statute, court, rule, or other authority shall be broadly construed if it furthers the people's rights of access and narrowly construed if it limits the rights of access. Sierra Club versus Superior Court. Where the terms are ambiguous, the constitutional canon requires that an interpretation that maximizes the public's rights of access unless the legislature has expressly provided to the contrary. In other words, all public records are subject to disclosure unless the legislature has expressly provided to the contrary. William versus Superior Court. This is all to say that if a task member is going to vote against a broad interpretation of public access provision, then you should cite a specific provision of the statute that provides to the contrary or is a specific exemption. Custodians of records by department is a construct of the city departments and not the Sunshine Ordinance. There could be a custodian of records for the executive branch or the whole city. While the term department is defined in 6720A, it is not used in conjunction with defining custodians of records or availability to records. A custodian of records is defined as, in 6721A, every person having custody of any public record or public information as defined herein is the custodian of record. This definition says every person, not even qualifying only to city officials or a designated person. You just have to have custody of the records or information. If a city official responsible for a city program that interacts with any person who has any public records or information, then the public records or information is available to them. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Tedeschi, are you ready? Mr. Tedeschi?
Please press *6 to unmute yourself. Mr. Tedeschi, are you there? Mr. Tedeschi. All right, so I'll reserve Mr. Tedeschi's place. We're going to take a 10-minute recess. We'll come back and reopen public comment for Mr. Tedeschi only, if he so wishes to make a comment, and then we'll continue with our meeting. So it's coming on 6:45. We'll return back at 6:55, and we are in recess. Thank you. Ms. Leger, are you there? Ms. Leger, are you there? Mr. Young, are you there? Ms. Leger, are you there? Ms. Leger, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Is
Okay,
everybody else here?
yes. Ready to come back? Is the recording started?
The recording never stopped.
Okay, very good. Okay, going to reopen general public comment for Mr. Tedessa. Are you present, Mr. Tedessa? If you are here, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Mr. Tedessa, are you here? Okay. Well, I'm going to close public comment and please call the next item.
Item number 5, file number 20106, complaint filed by Mimi Klausner against the Police Commission for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 67.7 by grouping several agenda items into one, and 6715 by failing to allow participation in public comment during a Police Commission meeting.
Okay. I believe I was chairing this meeting for EOT, and there's not much more I can add. If anybody else on EOT has anything else to add? No? Okay, then let's begin. This is a fresh file. We'll go through a regular complaint procedure. Each party will receive 5 minutes for opening testimony. We'll ask for any persons or supporting witnesses. The task force will then have a question and answer period to provide any additional information or clarification on discovery of the facts. We'll then have rebuttals from either party. The respondent will be first, the petitioner will be second, and then the task force will deliberate. A motion may come forth, and we'll have public comment on the motion, and then we'll vote. Are both parties present? Ms. Klausner?
Yes, I'm here.
And it's a representative from the Police Commission?
Yes, Sergeant Youngblood.
Very good. Okay.
Excuse me, I thought that that the president of the commission, Malia Cohen, was supposed to be here.
The task force, the Sunshine Ordinance does not require the actual custodian or person in question to appear. So a representative can be sent, as long as they have complete knowledge of the issue, so that the questions can be answered positively.
Okay.
All right, please wait for Ms. Leger with the clock. Ms. Klausner, you'll be first. You have 5 minutes.
Ms. Glassner, you ready?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I am sorry that Malia Cohen is not here because she is the one that's the decision maker. Sergeant Youngblood carries out her desires, and so she could speak to what her thinking is, behind not separating out these items. But such as it is, we will proceed. As I said earlier, I do appreciate that the commission is now hearing general public comment at the beginning of its meeting. But according to the July 21st, 2021 commission agenda, the latest one that's up there that has any items in it, it is still listing 3 disparate items: the chief's report, the Department of Police Accountability Director's report, and the commission reports under one agenda item. The 3 reports are from 2 different organizational entities reporting to the commission, each with distinctive responsibilities, as well as from the commission itself. If the chief reports on a significant event, such as a police shooting or public demonstration, the public has to wait until the end of the commission report before being able to comment. Moreover, so there's a waiting factor involved. Moreover, the public will only have 2 and sometimes only 1 minute to comment on 3 different items, being those 3 different reports. This is highly restrictive, particularly in those instances when each report raises substantial issues. Also, apparently in the interest of time, the commission is now limiting discussion of the chief's report of unplanned activities and the DPA director's report of all issues to whether to calendar that discussion for a future meeting. This limits the ability of the commissioners to question the chief and DPA director on significant issues in a timely way and reflects, on significant issues in a timely way. I request that these restrictions, which were introduced over the past year, be removed from the agenda. And lastly, there should be some indication on the agenda that public comment is taken after each item. This will be less confusing for a first-time public commenter who may not understand the difference between general public comment, now held at the beginning of the meeting, and public comment on a particular agenda item. Preferably, the words public comment should be listed at the end of each item, alerting both the president and the public of this opportunity. I think that's all I have to say, since the issue seems to be fairly straightforward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any persons or witnesses to provide any facts or evidence on behalf of the petitioner, the complainant? Okay, hearing none, Sergeant Youngblood, please wait for Ms. Leger and the clock.
Sergeant Youngblood, are you ready?
I am ready.
Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. So regarding the complaint by Amy Klausner, I have spoken with Commissioner Cohen regarding the agenda and the public comment. At the beginning of the year, Commissioner Cohen has moved public comment to the beginning of the agenda instead of being midway through in order to let the public make public comment sooner. The 3 items regarding the reports to the commission are from, as she stated, from the chief, from DPA, and they have been limited to 5 minutes so that the public has a quicker time to respond back to that particular line item. But that line item reports to the commission are all one item, whereas they are 2 entities that both report to the commissioners, so they have 5 minutes each, which is 10 minutes. So the public does not have that long to report or give public comment on that particular item. Commissioner Cohen has been satisfied with the advice that she has received from the city attorney's office, that she believes that it is her preference to keep the agenda the way it is. As far as the public comment, during my time as the secretary in the last 2.5 years, we have never limited public comment less than 2 minutes. So the public comment has always been 2 minutes or 3 minutes when Commissioner Taylor was there. And the final item that was talked about, as far as putting public comment on the agenda, I'm not aware of where that is required. And after every line item, I do announce that it is public comment and for what that public comment is meant for, whether it's general public comment, or I will announce the name of the line item so that they know when and where and why they're making public comment. So that is it.
Thank you. Are any persons or witnesses to provide any facts or evidence on behalf of the respondent?
There are none.
No, it's a general question. That it's not somebody you would necessarily provide. It could be any member of the public can claim party to this. Okay, hearing none, members, the item is now with you. Member Wong.
Yeah, so I don't have any specific questions for either the petitioner or the respondent. Having observed several police commission meetings in the past myself, I strongly agree with the petitioner. I don't know if this is a conflict of interest or.
I'm sorry?
I'm just not sure if it's a conflict of interest that I've observed several meetings and I strongly agree with the petitioner.
No, it's not a conflict of interest.
Okay.
I would just ask members if you can hold your deliberated comments or comments for deliberation till after rebuttals. At this point, it's a question and answer period or to provide clarification on the facts and evidence, just to try to compartmentalize things a little bit so we can move this along efficiently. I have Member Padmanabhan and then Member Schmidt.
My question is to Sergeant Youngblood. So in the case, in this particular case, there were three reports that were clubbed together under one agenda item. Am I right?
There are 3 reports under that line item, yes.
So if there were, so all 3, and the rationale being that they are, that all these 3 reports were, they were being reported to the same, could you give me the rationale again of why they're clubbed together?
So the line item is titled Reports to the Commission from the entities that report. It doesn't say that on it, but they are from reports to the commission. Reports to the commission from the entities that report to the police commissioners, which are SFPD and DPA, as well as the other commissioners who report to President Cohen as the chair.
So if there were 5 entities reporting, then they would all be clubbed together?
I'm not exactly sure how to answer that. That would, like, there are only 3 that report to the commission, so I couldn't answer that question for the commissioner.
And so I'm trying to get at, but these reports are entirely different. There was a question about whether they were presentations or reports. And are they reports or are they presentations? And could you explain?
They are reports. It's a brief synopsis of what happened the prior week. All presentations have been broken out, which is something else that was changed recently when Commissioner Cohen came aboard. All presentations were removed from that line item and broken out into separate line items. So for instance, if it was under the chief, if he had a report for, let's say, the early intervention system, that was at that point in time under the reports to the commission, but now that has been broken out into a separate line item so that the chief only speaks for 5 minutes on a 5-minute report on events or major incidents that have happened within the department for that last week, but there is not a presentation during that.
Okay, thank you.
Member Schmidt, go ahead.
Yeah, a question for the petitioner. You want the 3 reports to have separate line items. I want to have a basis to, I understand why, etc., but I'm trying to think of why they can't do it that way. And if you could give me some rationale, and it can be in the Sunshine Ordinance, etc., something to base this on, please.
Well, I would say I have 2 main concerns. The first is the amount of time that members of the public have to wait to comment, let's say on the chief's report, which always comes first. Sergeant Youngblood has said that these items are now limited to 5 minutes. Well, to me, there should be no limit of 5 minutes. If there were many incidents that happened in the week and it took more than 5 minutes, that they should be told. It shouldn't be limited by 5 minutes. So it will be 15 minutes according to Sergeant Youngblood that somebody would have to wait in order to comment on the on the chief's report. But we know how these meetings go, and I'd be surprised if it's limited to 5 minutes. So it's a waiting thing. And then the second thing, though, is that you only get a certain number of minutes, per public comment. Sergeant Youngblood suggested that it had never been 1 minute. I'm not remembering that, but I could be wrong because I've gone to other meetings where it has been limited to 1 minute. But let's take him at his word that it's 2 minutes. So somebody would have only 2 minutes or perhaps 3 minutes to comment on the chief's report, the DPA director's report, and the commission report. And that just isn't enough time when there are, you know, if there are significant issues being raised, you know, in each report.
Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Member Neighbors and then Member Padmanabhan.
Hi, this question is for Ms. Klausner. Hi, Ms. Klausner. I'm wondering, this is along the same lines as Member Schmidt's question, but maybe taking it one step further. So I guess I'm wanting to hear this kind of same articulation of what is the ultimate impact of grouping these items together on transparency and public decision making. I mean, what is the end result of that